Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the UAE E-invoicing podcast series. Today, we're going to talk about the E-invoicing now, what's really means to the businesses in the UAE and how it is reshaping the business's process in the UAE. I am Helal Al Refai. I am the Indirect Tax Proposition Manager at Thomson Reuters. Today, I'm joined by Luis Ortega, who's a Director of Product Management in Baguero, which is part of Thomson Reuters. But Luis has led a lot of rollouts of e-invoicing around the world, so we are in safe hands today. Luis, can you explain to us what's really e-invoicing?
Yeah, that's the key question for many, no? Because
exactly.
we are hearing just the buzzword and not exactly knowing what it is. So I would say, let's say that e-invoicing or electronic invoicing is just a way of exchanging a business document, which is an invoice, in an electronic format, no? And in the strict sense of it, is an electronic format that has to be readable, machine readable, no? So it has to be able to be interpreted by machines. No?
So it's nothing to do with the PDFs or scanned
no paper,
documents.
no PDF, no scanned documents, and you see that different legislations in different countries are having a more strict even description of what an electronic invoice is. No, so if you look at the UAE market right now, many companies are exchanging documents or invoices through PDF by email or things like that. Mm-hmm. In the definition of electronic invoice of the UAE, those are not electronic invoices. Okay, so it would be just a structured formats. So typically, it would be an XML file or things like that. And again, it's produced by a machine, is being read by a machine as well.
Yeah. So the government in the UAE is rolling out this new digital system, new in exchanging the invoices between the seller and the buyer, moving from the traditional paper-based or the email-based exchanging of documents, uses international standards like Peppol and relies a lot of service providers and software providers for e-invoicing to be more secure, to be more compliant. So let's take it from the very beginning. There's a lot of terminologies which is very new for everyone in the region and in the UAE specifically about Peppol, PINT, 5-corner, CTC. Can you explain that in a very?
Let's get in invoicing 101. Okay,
exactly.
I think is a good question, and because. I mean, let's go historically first. I mean, why electronic invoicing exists, and that it will make everyone understand a bit more. I mean, you have two main historical reasons. One is what was implemented in Latin American countries. It was about fiscalization. Mm-hmm. It was about we want to make sure that the tax authority can collect real-time data of the invoicing data. And they wanted to do that because they wanted to reduce the VAT gap or the GST gap. No, then you get the other approach that was the European, especially Scandinavia, no? The Nordic countries in Europe, that they said, can we build something that in the same way that a mobile network facilitates the communication between humans, can we build something that will facilitate and make more efficient the communication between companies when they exchange business documents, no? And that's the reason why initially, as I mentioned, in the Nordics, but then extended through a mandate of the European Commission. A few years ago, they developed a standard for what is called Peppol. Okay, and mm-hmm. Peppol is just the definition of a network. Okay. And I think again we're going to use the analogy a lot with the mobile operators, so we can identify what are the different actors, no, the different elements of that network. No, so Peppol is a standard. Just for everyone. It's nothing else. It's like an ISO standard for something. Well, this is a standard that defines how a network of exchanging of documents operates. What is needed in a network? Well, in a mobile network, you have the users, you and me. We use our mobile phones as devices that connect to the network. And then we have network operators. You might be using Do, I might be using a Etisalat, but we are able to communicate to each other. No? Mm-hmm. That network is defined based on endpoints. So who is the user of that network is a mobile number. No, you have a 9715 whatever. I will not tell your full name so you don't get called by everyone that is listening to this. But basically, there is an identifier of the endpoint of the network, and then there is a protocol that allows the messages that go through that network to go from one end to the other end, no?
Which is the validations or the formats.
The formats, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what Peppol is. It's exactly a definition of a network. Instead of for mobile devices to exchange voice messages or whatever, is basically for ERPs or systems that are in the devices that are connected to the network can exchange electronic documents. Okay, so Peppol defines the format of those electronic documents, what documents are valid in that network. They define the addressing system of the network. So instead of the 9715 whatever, Peppol is defining that you, company X, using device Y, is going to have an ID, an identifier that identifies you as a participant of that network. Okay. So Peppol is just a definition of a network. So we should not dramatize about that as something complex. No, it's just a network. In that network, there is a way to connect, which is through service providers. Exactly the same we are doing with Do or Etisalat or Telefónica in Spain or whatever. There are operators that facilitate the access of those devices and those end users, which is the companies, to the network. In the case of Peppol environment, those ones are called service providers. Okay, so when you hear service providers in UAE, A refers to accredited. Okay, and we will get into that. But basically, those are the operators, and those operators have a method as well, which is defined to interop. So we make sure that if you are a user of Do and I'm a user of Etisalat, we still can talk to each other. Okay, why? Because Do and Etisalat interop. So in the case of a Peppol network, Pagero might be a service provider. There might be another service provider that is connected to other taxpayers. We still can talk because we have a methodology to
within the same network where each one has an access point where we can share them for the invoice within that network.
Correct. And you mentioned something, A in ASP, no? That is something everyone is hearing. So there is the governance of the network requires that the service providers comply with a minimum level of security that they are going to handle, I would say, the services that are required, reliability, uptime, X, Y, Z, okay? A lot of different requirements. So what the authorities are doing is, well, instead of allowing anyone to be an operator, so the same way that the telecom authority in the UAE is only allowing certain operators to operate the mobile network, exactly in the same way, the authorities in the UAE are going to accredited, are going to authorize only a number of service providers that comply with a minimum level, okay, of security to ensure the security and reliability of the network. So I would say it's very simple when you compare it to the telecom network because what is being built is exactly the same. If you just translate that, the end user or the person is actually the company. The device is actually the ERP or the system you are using to connect to the network. And then the operator or the service provider is just your Do or Telecom, Etisalat, whatever. Then you understand how all it operates. Okay. But I think that hopefully that analogy helps everyone to understand what this network
I think this is clear if you can relate it. It's very relatable to the network and telecommunication and how is that. I think now we have more clearer idea on how it works within the Peppol network. Thank you, Luis, for that. So now the first time we heard about e-invoicing in the UAE was part of the 5 transformation initiatives that the UAE is rolling in the countries, and they brought the e-billing system in the UAE. So and it helps in the transparency into tax reporting more accurate and being automated in a way, exchanging the documents more automated. So my question is, why it's considered the main pillar of this economic digitalization of the UAE transformation, digital transformation? Why e-invoicing is why the government, from the government perspective, why they're introducing such a technology and they want to digitalize this process?
I think, two aspects of it, and again, I was lucky enough just a few hours ago to be in a conference where a representative from the FTA, in UAE was explaining basically that. Okay, why we are doing this, and there is two elements of it, as I mentioned. One is the introduction of taxes in the UAE. Was never intended to be a burden for businesses. Okay, so. the tax authority realized that the only possible way to have an automated way of collecting tax information, it was to digitalize the basic documents that are used for indirect tax in this case, which is the invoice. No, so I think that is a trigger for the whole process. We want to make sure that you guys, taxpayers, don't have to fill up, complex forms in order to do your returns and stuff like that. But if we don't want to have that, the only way is that I can collect digital information real time, and then later I will be able even to pre-fill your VAT returns. And it's basically a basic pillar, a basic first step in order to have a way more automated approach to tax reporting and tax collection. No? So that's one element of it. But the second element, it was, can we improve and make more efficient the way that the businesses that operate in the UAE are? No? And that's where they looked at the European and they said, well, they have always been focused on efficiency, no? And how they did it. And then it's this Peppol story and that electronic invoicing and introduction even of other document types into that exchange, like orders or order confirmations or payments and stuff like that. So can we make the businesses save money, be more efficient, reduce their DSOs, reduce the cost of processing each transaction that today requires data capturing and all that stuff. So that's why the second major element, I would say, of the digitalization drive by the MOF is really to create an efficient environment for businesses to operate. So I would say something we really like about the model in the UAE as compared to other jurisdictions is that they have had a very strong focus on facilitating the process for the businesses, so not becoming a burden. That's the first thing. Second thing, even going further, and can we make the economy more efficient by implementing models that will facilitate the business for? So I think it's a great principle to have in MOF when they are developing all these new requirements. So really good news for taxpayers here.
And how fast they have implementing or utilizing such a technology after a few years of implementing VAT, where elsewhere you have like 30 years since they begin in the VAT and then start having e-invoicing in a place. But I'll go back for the Peppol and the Five Corners. Yeah. So we have a lot of models in to implement such a automation or e-invoicing. We have an example in Saudi Arabia where they implemented a clearance model. So why UAE choosing that specific model, and why is Five Corner, which is, we know it's not been implemented elsewhere? A few countries only implemented these Five Corner and the Peppol. So why that exact model? Why it's not following others?
Well, I think selecting the model is reflecting the philosophy of the MOF here. No? So the first thing is the Five Corner model in a decentralized approach, which is the one they have decided to use, is basically delegating the requirement of reporting tax information to the service providers. Okay, so the first thing is they are moving the requirement to report tax data from the taxpayers, that will be millions of different businesses, to just a selected number of service providers. So they reduce, I would say, the complexities and the risk of the implementation, but also remove that burden from the taxpayer, okay? Which is, I think, good news for the taxpayers. Is good news for us, service providers as well, because we have a business as well to do in the market. But I think that is very important. The second thing is, and I always say this to companies that are approaching us right now to talk about the mandate and how we can support them. In the way that is defined, they don't need to bother about the tax piece of it. They need to be concerned about their actual day-to-day business, which is exchanging invoices with their trading partners. Because the other parts of this mandate are covered by the service providers, okay? So make sure that you have the right data that is required in every invoice, and make sure that you have a secure way to provide that information to your service provider. The service providers will now make sure that you have that in the right format that is required by the network. They will make sure that they extract the data and report that to the tax authority. And whatever there are modifications in the tax authority communication, that will be the service providers will take that burden, I would say. So in that sense, I think they have selected the model that supports better, faster adoption. That's one thing. Reduce the burden on the taxpayer. And the third thing is the future. I mean, so Peppol has defined the CTC, the decentralized continuous transaction control model based on this Peppol Corner 5 as the future. Okay. And that is the future not only for domestic traffic, it's the future for making sure that we can create a global network like the current mobile network. We still remember those days where the Americans and the Europeans couldn't talk by mobile phone because they have different systems. So the approach of Peppol as a standardization organization as well is to create a standard that is going to facilitate not just the domestic traffic, not only the reporting to the Corner 5 tax authority, but also the cross-border traffic, where then you can exchange these documents digitally and efficiently and secure with your foreign trading partners.
That's like a roaming now.
It's like a roaming. Exactly. It's exactly the same concept. So that's why it's PINT. I mean, we have discussed about PINT. So PINT is the version of the Peppol format, which is for international. So UAE is already adopting PINT, which is the international version of it, with the small AE extension. That's why it's called PINT AE, okay? Because it has an extension for some data points on the invoice are specific for the UAE, but allows to exchange those PINT formats with other Peppol networks outside. For instance, if you have a receiver in Singapore, which is using Peppol network as well, and that receiver is capable of receiving PINT format, you will be able to exchange digitally with your Singaporean trading partner without having to do anything else. So it's a brilliant approach, I would say, and it's super future looking, as UAE always is. No? So,
exactly. Yes. And so, since we talk about the PINT and the data, so as of today, we have available documentation about what's the required from the data point of view, the data that's mandated to be. I'll go a bit technical here, but let's talk about the data and what's the latest updates as of today from the Ministry of Finance or the FTA about what's the requirements, legislation, etc. But as of now, we have a document where stating the types of invoices that's required, the scope of the e-invoicing, the data as mandated or optional or is going to be in the future will be mandating. So as of today, where you see what's the latest updates, where we are from the timeline point of view?
Okay. I mean, obviously the Ministry of Finance and FTA is having several discussions with many of the service providers, that we are still on the process, of becoming accredited, because we are the ones that are taking most of the technical aspects, I would say, of the mandate, But there are elements that are really affecting directly the taxpayers, and you touched the right point, which is the data dictionary, and that's the reason why that part of the mandate was published a few months back as a public consultation, just to make sure that that element, which is the one that really affects the taxpayer, was put out there for industries, different verticals to give their inputs and feedback about that, because it might be that there are some business cases, some specific scenarios that might not be fully covered, when they design it, So that now has converted into an officially published format, I would say. We have the final version. It might have still some modifications now or in the next 10 years, because this is a dynamic thing. There's new requirements happening all the time. But the format has been published now, which is the latest version of PINT AE. Then we have the architectural documents, both from functional and technical specification, that will allow us, as well as service providers, to make sure we can start engaging with taxpayers and start building the right flows between us in order to ensure that they will comply with the mandate. And there is the legislation for the accreditation of service providers that was published. So that all those things are out there. Okay. What is really missing, which is the last piece of that puzzle, really, is the legislation of the electronic invoice itself. Where the MOF will confirm exact timelines, how it's going to be rolled out. It's going to be in phases. It's going to be in waves. Whatever they define. And that is what we are expecting in the next few weeks.
Okay.
So I would say from that perspective, technically, every element that defines the network and the services that we need to provide as service providers, it's out there right now. We are waiting for the final specification of the tax data report, which it has been shown to us as a draft but not final version. But we expect that in the next few days, so that would be fine. So I would say, from a taxpayer perspective, your service provider already have all the technical information required for this. You can start today to be mapping your data, to be interacting with service providers, making sure that you're starting to build this model. Because time will run. Whenever the legislation gets published and it says a date, that it's gonna look very close.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially when the go live approaches, people will start organizations will start not panicking, but start really look at that once the legislation is out. But you mentioned about the accreditation. I just I know you are in a weekly, if not in a daily, communication about looking after this process. So where we are at the moment from the getting accredited, listed with the Ministry of Finance and the FTA. At the moment, or where are they from the FTA perspective? Where they are from that process?
Yeah, and it's very important. I mean, yesterday in this conference, that was a question from some of the taxpayers, and I mean, we need a list of accredited service providers because we want to start working with them. No, so basically, the process is a two-phase process. The accreditation process in UAE, and the first part of the process is really to ensure that you comply with I would say the 4-corner piece of the 5-corner model. So just the exchange between buyers and sellers. So that requires a number of testing, but also it requires some documentation, insurances. I mean, different aspects of it. So I would say we are at the point where many of us have already submitted all the documentation. We are just waiting for the tax authority basically to activate the testing process for the onboarding, which is going to be done through Emara-Tax. Okay, I think the one element that is not fully published yet, but people is aware of it, is that you as a taxpayer, we basically will connect to your Emara-Tax portal. You will activate electronic invoice. You will say which one is your service provider there, and that will be the trigger of the process of becoming part of the network. Okay, so that piece is what is not been tested yet. Okay, even we are progressing with that. So I would say in the next 2 to 4 weeks, and again a bit with question marks because we it's not fully dependent on us. 2 to 4 weeks, we expect that there will be already service providers that have comply with all this first step of the accreditation process or first stage, and then we will get some sort of list of accredited service providers. I mean, we are accredited in 27 of the 27 Peppol jurisdictions. So, I mean, it's not that we are stressed about it. It's just that we need to go through the process, and comply with all the requirements here. There will be a second phase of the accreditation process. So the list that is going to come now is going to be named as pre-accredited service providers, and that is important for everyone to understand.
That's one of the 6 steps that's in the documentation.
Correct. It's one of the 6 steps, but there will be other steps later on when obviously. The corner 5 or the tax authority endpoint of the network is not yet built. It was I guess they're in the procurement process, for a platform that will serve as the corner 5. So we as service providers, we need to test against that corner 5 once it's up and running, and that will be later this year. So we believe it will be sometime in Q3, Q4. And at that point, then we will get the second stage of the accreditation process where they will be final accredited service providers. But I would say once you get accredited on the first phase, there is absolutely no reason, given that the corner 5 is another endpoint of the network, another service provider in that sense, that you will not comply with those requirements. Okay, so that's basically the stages. So yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah, that's great. So I'll just e-invoicing. We know invoicing is not another tech upgrade or a new way of exchanging. Only it's have its own impact on how tax departments' day-to-day work will be. So I want to get your review on the impact of the e-invoicing or the reduction of the e-invoicing, the tax departments here. How's the compliance from the tax will look like, or there's going to be a huge changes when it comes to filing the returns or dealing with the day-to-day tasks for the tax leaders in the UAE.
Yeah, First of all, maybe let's widen the impact, and then we drill down into the tax specifically. No, so if you look at the UAE mandate, there is going to affect massively both receivables and payables. Okay, so it's going to affect your sales invoice, but it's going to affect a lot your purchase invoice processing as well. So initially, the guys that are going to be more affected because their process is going to change completely to the way they are doing it today is AR and AP departments. So those ones are going to be affected. They need to be part of this story. It's not just a tax problem. Okay, then you get, of course, all the technology guys. You have to make sure that you have the right data. You need to make sure that your ERP is capable of connecting, and having connectivity with the service provider, that you have the right secure methods for that, all that stuff, And then you get the tax department, of course. Why is changing for them? Well, initially, maybe the biggest challenge they're going to have is that because the electronic invoice is being added into the current framework of tax reporting. So I would say from changes the current ways of doing your VAT returns, it's not going to change massively today in the initial step, but because electronic invoice is going to be in parallel, okay? But you are going to get a different challenge, which is I am reporting things real time to the tax authority, and then which is the electronic invoicing, and then I have my periodic reporting of VAT, which is the VAT return. Are those things reconciling? Do I have everything that I have reported in my real-time reporting, electronic invoice, in my VAT return? Are the timestamps connected to those transactions in the right place? I have reported this maybe in a different period, and now I'm trying to do it. So all that reconciliation process is going to be massive for the tax departments. I think they're going to have a challenge there. And that's where I believe, they will require really, a strong engines and tools to facilitate the reconciliation, because you have massive sets of data that you need to reconcile. And right now, Excel is not going to be the solution. And I think that is the message I would like to send. The second step of the future looking of this is that
pre-filled.
Correct. There might be that there is the need to do a VAT return anymore. That the tax authority will have or incorporate all the transactions into the reporting. So the B2C, which are not included, initially in this first rollout, and other things, So if that is incorporated, tax authority becomes actually the tax ledger for every single corporate, because they have all the information and they have it real time. And then they can pre-fill basically your tax returns. So the challenge for the tax departments at that point is not going to be about preparing filings, okay? It's going to be about challenging what they are given by the tax authority. And they will need to challenge it normally in very short periods of time, because the tax authority has real-time information. So you're going to have very short periods of time where you need to make sure that what you are getting as a pre-filled return or anything like that is correct, okay? And so I think it's going to be about building. None of these things can be done with automation and with tools that aid you on this process. No, so I think those are the type of investments we will expect from tax departments in the coming months, just to make sure that A, they can solve the reconciliation problem in the first stage. B, they can solve the challenge of the tax authority pre-fill returns in the future. Okay, so
and pre-audit proof, because now, as you said, they have the full data in real time, so they can easily conduct any audit at any time, tax audit in any time in any place, because they have these data. But before we wrap up, Louis, I would just so we can give the people who are listening to us today, either tax managers or finance or IT departments, a practical advice of what they can do and now to get ready. We know the go live date is July 26, and we're still waiting for more updates to come from the Ministry of Finance and the FTA. What's a practical a guide or advice that you can give to start with at the moment with the available information we have?
I think the first thing is don't underestimate these projects, okay? Those, especially if you have a complex environment, IT environments, even from legal entities,
VAT groups.
Correct. All those things will make this a bit more complex for you than if you are, a standalone company working with a small number of invoices in the country. So don't underestimate the mandate is going to have an impact, or the implementation of the solution required to support the mandate is going to have an impact from your data perspective. It's going to have an impact from processes perspective, and it's going to have an impact from technology perspective. And that is affecting, as I mentioned before, different departments. So payables, receivables, tax, IT. So I would say the first thing is to create a governance for the program, for the project at the right level on the organization. That means you need to have someone that owns this, and that someone has to be up enough in the organization to be able to influence these different departments or organizations within your company. The second thing is, as I mentioned, it's going to be a data mapping exercise. It's going to be a change management from process perspective 100%. Exercise. And it's going to be a technology exercise as well. So can I already do things in any of these aspects? And I say, yeah, 100%. I mean, you have already the data that is going to be required. So you can start doing your mapping, your gap analysis. Am I missing some of the data? Do I have that data in different systems? Do I need to bring them? So all those things can be done now. So 100% start with that process, because that is going to help you a lot moving forward. And I guess as well, you need to start educating. So the change management part of the process, you can start doing right now. You can start identifying gaps, changes that are going to happen in some of your current process and flows, because now you're going to have it digital instead of manual. All those things is something I would be doing right now. Okay. And the third thing that obviously you should be doing as well is starting to talk to service providers. I mean, you are going to have to work with them. It's a bit different than in Saudi, where there is no obligation to work with the service provider. But here you have to. So start talking to them. Start getting good feeling about how they can assist you. Not all of them will provide the same flexibility. Not all of them will be able to connect to your different ERPs or your different systems. Some of them will provide you add-on features like, enrichment of data, whatever, that are going to be fundamental if you are missing some of the data of the invoices. There's a lot of those things that takes time, okay? And until the moment you actually reach the commercial agreement with the service provider. So start early in the process, with those ones that are participating in the accreditation process. I would say that would be the other advice I would provide. So yeah, I mean, I think there is a third thing that people doesn't realize now, okay? But these mandates are not stable on time. They are dynamic.
Yeah.
So there will be changes on the formats. There will be introduction of new document types. They will want to get control of the orders and order confirmations or payments, like France, for instance, or Singapore. In Singapore, you report invoices on the AP side only when you have paid them. So they have control on the payment side as well. So this is going to happen. This is going to evolve. So you are going to have a governance process within your organization, or you need to rely on your service provider that they are going to be monitoring all those changes in the regulation to make sure that you always have a permanent impact analysis of those changes to be able to implement it. So it might sound now like, but that will come later. Well, it comes pretty soon as you go live, because in that moment, you're going to need that governance process. So I would say that's the other area where, again, engage with your service providers. Some of the service providers have regulatory departments that are just monitoring these things, making sure that notify through the support channels to the companies, rather than building it yourself. That might be a bit expensive. So look at those things now, because it's going to be super important on the day that you go live. That will be my third major recommendation, I would say.
So governance, change management, impact assessment, data analysis, data gap analysis, making sure everything is available, connecting with the ERPs, start engaging and talking with the service provider as of now, because you never know what's gonna face down the road, closing to the go live date. Luis, that's great. Thanks very much for being here first and sharing your expertise. Really enjoyed the session, and thanks for everyone who's listening to us. And stay tuned for more episode about e-invoicing and how e-invoicing will impact the businesses in the UAE.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.